What if the Stranger Things kids were Pokemon trainers, but they could only use Gen 1 Pokemon? Watch out, because some of these pics might hurt your feelings, but others might make you go, aww. I started rewatching Stranger Things Season 1 recently, and honestly, it still hits. The tone, the kids, the vibes, the synths, it's pure nostalgia, and it holds up way better than it has any right to. And while I was watching it again, I realized how much Season 1 is really about childhood, friendship, imagination, and being way too young to deal with something that feels impossible, weird, and scary. And that's when it clicked, because Pokémon Season 1 was that for me, nostalgia, same kind of comfort nostalgia. So I thought, what if I mixed both? What if the Stranger Kids were Pokemon trainers, limited to Gen 1 Pokemon only, the same ones a lot of us grew up with? No modern gimmicks, just personality, story, and vibes. So for this video, I reimagined each of the main kids from Stranger Things as Pokemon trainers, pairing them with a Pokemon that actually fits who they are. Mike doesn't get the flashiest Pokemon, and that's the point. Pikachu isn't rare, it's not mythical, it doesn't overpower legendary threats on paper. But Pikachu never quits. Mike is the emotional backbone of the group. He's the one constantly holding everyone together, even when he's scared, confused, or completely outmatched. And Pikachu has that same energy, standing its ground against things it realistically shouldn't be able to be. Pikachu fights for connection, for loyalty, for people it cares about. That's Mike. He's not always right, he messes up, he panics, but when it matters, he shows up. Pikachu being small but defiant mirrors Mike facing monsters that should crush him instantly, and refusing to back down anyway. He's got the energy of a main character without being overpowered. Visually, this pairing is iconic for a reason. Pikachu on Mike's side immediately communicates leadership and heart, even to someone who's never watched Stranger Things. And narratively, Pikachu balances Eleven's overwhelming psychic presence. Mike doesn't need raw strength, he needs something that stays, and Pikachu always does. 11 was never going to be a normal Pokemon pairing. From the moment that she shows up, her entire story is about power that doesn't fit inside a normal system. And that's exactly why Mew works so perfectly for her. Mew isn't just strong, it's mythical, rare, almost misunderstood. Most people in the Pokemon world don't even know if it really exists, and when they do see it, they immediately try to control it, capture it, or study it, which feels familiar. Mew has access to nearly every move. In theory, it can do anything, but that doesn't mean it knows how to use that power responsibly or safely. And that's 11 in a nutshell. She didn't choose to be powerful, she was made that way. And most of her story is about learning when not to use that power. Visually, Mew floating around 11 feels almost too perfect. Soft, quiet, and almost peaceful, until something pushes them too far, and then suddenly the tone shifts. Because when 11 snaps, things break, and when Mew fights seriously, it stops being cute very quickly. There's also something important about how lonely both of them are. Mew is often depicted as playful but isolated. 11 is surrounded by people, yet constantly separated by what she is. They're not weapons, they're not experiments, they're living beings trying to exist in a world that keeps demanding more from them. Mew represents what 11 could become if she ever fully let go. And that's exactly why she keeps fighting to stay human. This one is sneaky good. Dustin is curious, scientific, and endlessly fascinated by how things work, especially when everyone else is just trying to survive. That's why Magnemite fits him better than a brute force Pokemon ever could. Magnemite is literally a floating science experiment. It doesn't look intimidating, it doesn't roar, it hums. And yet, it's incredibly useful. Electric and Steel typing makes Magnemite resistant, clever, and surprisingly adaptable, which mirrors how Dustin operates within the group. He's not the strongest fighter, but he's often the smartest problem solver. Dustin notices things others ignore. Magnemite thrives in environments others do not understand. There's also something deeply outsider about both of them. Like Magnemite doesn't look like most Pokemon. Dustin doesn't act like most kids in Hawkins. They're weird, and they own it. Visually, Magnemite floating beside Dustin adds motion and personality without overpowering the scene. It feels like it's constantly buzzing, thinking, and scanning. This pairing says brains over muscle. Lucas is the realist. He's cautious when everyone else is emotional. He questions plans instead of blindly following them. And he's often right, even when no one wants to hear it. That's why Sandshrew fits him perfectly. Sandshrew isn't flashy. It doesn't dominate with speed or spectacle. It survives. Ground-type Pokemon are all about stability, defense, and preparation. And that's Lucas' entire mindset. He plans for things to go wrong. Sandshrew curls up, protects itself, and waits for the right moment. Lucas does the same emotionally. He's guarded. He doesn't trust easily. But when it's time to act, he commits fully. Visually, Sandshrew grounding the pair makes the entire team feel more believable, like someone actually thought about survival instead of vibes. This pairing isn't about hero moments, it's about making it through. Will isn't a fighter, he survives by enduring, and Abra is the most fragile Pokemon in this entire lineup, yet one of the most powerful potentially. Abra spends most of his time teleporting away from danger. He doesn't fight because he can't. Not yet, that's Will. Always sleeping between worlds, always sensing something before others do, always trying to escape something he never asked to face. Abra being psychic ties Will directly into the upside down without making it monstrous. This pairing hurts in a good way, because Abra represents power that hasn't fully formed and trauma that hasn't fully healed. It makes people feel something, which is exactly what keeps them watching. Max needed speed and attitude, and Ponyta delivers both. Ponyta is fire without chaos. It's controlled, fast, and confident. Just like Max, she doesn't wait for permission. She doesn't slow down to explain herself. She moves forward. Ponyta mirrors that perfectly. Flames trailing behind it feel like momentum, not destruction. There's also something freeing about this pairing. After everything Max goes through, Ponyta represents motion, independence, and escape. Visually, fire is always cool, just like Mad Max. This team feels like it wandered out of the Upside Down and straight into Kanto. If this was part 1, part 2 could be Steve, Nancy, Jonathan, Robin, Hopper. There's a lot of interesting characters in the series. Tell me which character you want next, and which Pokemon will you give them? Because I'm already taking notes. Or, if you're here for the chaos, I also drew every single Gen 1 Pokemon from memory, with no references, which was a terrible idea. See you there!